As a woman, did you know that you have 3 pairs of lips in your body? Even though I am quite sure that you're only familiar with one, which is this one right here, this one on our faces, one that speaks, the one that smiles, and the one that laughs. Anyways, it is my job to introduce you to the other 2 pairs of lips that you have in your body as a woman. Ladies, meet the labia majora and the labia minora. Labia is the Latin word for lips, by the way. And these are the other 2 pairs of lips that lives in our vulva. And just like the lips we have in our faces, they are both functional and visible, and they deserve to be talked about. And that is what we are going to be doing in today's video. Now let's start with the labia majora. Labia majora is the Latin word for greater lips, and it can also be called outer lips or outer labia. All of that is correct. Now, what is the labia majora? The labia majora are 2 folds of elongated skin and fatty tissue. If you've watched my video on the mons pubis, remember I said that the mons pubis is a fatty area of skin, and the mons pubis and the labia majora have quite a number of similarities. And number one is that they are both made of fatty tissues, although the mons pubis is way more fattier than the labia majora. Another thing is pubic hair. As you can see, we have more pubic hair. There's more pubic hair on the mons pubis than on the labia majora. And what's the labia majora made of? It is made of keratinized skin, which is the same type of regular skin that you will find everywhere else in your body. And because of that, it is also prone to other skin conditions that you would find in a regular skin. I'm talking about eczemas, boils, pimples. Yes, you can find that in the labia majora. And this is also true for the mons pubis, because the mons pubis is also made of regular skin. So if you find pimples, eczema, boils in this area, it is normal, and it is because it is made of regular skin. That is why it has hair follicles and can bear hair. This is also true for the mons pubis. The labia majora is also made of sebaceous gland, which produces natural skin oil, and sweat gland, which also contributes to personal scent. And yes, just like the mons pubis, your body fats also contributes to the fullness of the labia majora, and it can vary from woman to woman. So the labia majora also contains nerve endings. And so just like the mons pubis, just like I mentioned in the mons pubis, it can also be stimulated during sexual activities to give pleasure. Now, why is it called an outer labia? It is because it is expected that this pair of labia is supposed to protrude more than the inner labia. So it's going to be more prominent, and this girl here is going to be tucked in. So if you're a woman that has an actual outer labia, which a vast majority of women do not, and this lady here clearly do not as well, this is going to protrude, and this is going to be kind of tucked in. So when you are standing, these 2 pairs are going to meet in the middle, and it's going to form kind of like a closure, a natural closure here, hiding away these other structures that are in between. So when you look down there, when you look at your vulva while standing, the 2 things you're going to majorly see is the mons pubis and the outer labia that is tucked in while you are standing. So these are the things you're going to see. So that is why I advise, take a mirror right now and spread in between, especially if you fall into this category, so that you will see the other structures that lie within, especially during this anatomy class. Again, like I said, the vast majority of women do not have this outer labia more prominent. Instead, the inner labia actually protrudes more. Now let's move to the labia minora, also called the inner labia, the inner lips, which, if you ask me, I think there needs to be a renaming, because this inner labia for a vast majority of women is not very inner, but actually protrudes more than the outer labia. Anyways, what is the labia minora? The labia minora is 2 folds of very delicate tissues that runs from the glans clitoris or the clitoral hood. So this is where it separates and splits, and it runs just down to below the vaginal opening. Now this is the vaginal opening, so it ends just below the vaginal opening. That's its position. That's why it's called lesser lips. In Latin, labia minora means lesser lips, but the lesser does not mean less and important, just less in position, because it is inside the labia majora. So the structure of the labia minora. The labia minora, unlike the labia majora, is not made of fatty tissue, so it does not have fat, and it is also not made of regular skin. And because it is not made of regular skin, it does not have hair follicles, and so it does not bear hair. So the labia minora will never have hair. You don't have hair in your labia minora, as you can see in this diagram. And you need to understand that regular skin is covered with a layer of dead skin cells, and this gives protection and thrives in dry conditions. And because it is not made of regular skin, it does not have that protective layer of dead skin cells, and therefore it is less resistant to wear and tears. So as a result of this, a longer labia minora may become sore when it chaps against clothing like tight jeans, because it does not have that protective layer over it. So if the labia minora is not made of regular skin, what is it made of? Mucous membrane, also called mucosa. That is what the inner labia is made of. Mucous membrane is a type of soft, moist and delicate tissue that is different from regular skin. Some characteristics of mucous membrane. One is it is thin and very delicate, unlike regular skin. Number two is that it is naturally moist. Mucous membrane stays naturally moist. Number three is that it is rich in high blood vessel. So if you see mucous membrane, it's often very red or pink because it has a rich blood vessel supply. Number four is that it is highly sensitive. Now, you have seen mucous membrane before. Mucous membrane is the kind of tissue that you find inside your mouth. If you look at your mouth, inside of it, it's very thin, it's very delicate. It's always moist. And the color, it's either is red or pink because of the blood vessel. So that is mucous membrane. Other areas that you find mucous membrane is inside the vagina. So the vaginal walls are made of mucous membrane. Inside the urethra, inside the anus, they are made of this delicate tissue called mucous membrane, even inside your eyelids. So they are always naturally moist. Now, the labia minora also contains a core erectile tissue that gets filled up with blood during arousal. So it has a high blood supply. Now, this causes it to swell and become more larger and more sensitive during arousal. And I'm guessing this is familiar to you. Yes, this is the same mechanism as the erection of the penis. So you can see that women also get erection, but it is not talked about enough. Another thing is that it also contains several nerve endings. The labia minora is the second most sensitive organ in the body after the clitoris. So when stimulated, when aroused, it brings lots and lots of sexual pleasure. Now, the variations of the labia minora. If you ask me, this is the most important part of this video. The labia minora carries the most cultural weight and causes the most unnecessary distress in women. Let's start with the size. The size of the labia minora varies dramatically between women. A landmark study in 2005 measured the labia dimensions in 50 women and found the labia minora width ranging from 7 millimeters to 50 millimeters. Now, that is an enormous range, 7 to 50 millimeters. Now, not just that, this study also found that the majority of labia minora extend and protrudes beyond the labia majora, and this is completely normal and extremely common amongst women. That is also the same for the symmetry, the shape, the color, the prominence. Every single thing varies. There is no correct size. So my ladies, I need you to understand that the images of the neat, properly tucked in, symmetrical, light colored labias that we have been exposed to, maybe through the media, pornography, and even some medical diagrams, represent just one narrow point of an enormous spectrum of normal, and that is absolutely wrong. There is no standard. So in the next video, I'm going to be sharing with you some research paper and some research articles as references and backings to every point that I am making, so it will give you further conviction and further clarity. I'll also share with you something called a labia gallery, where you get to see so many diverse and real labias of different women, so you would understand that truly there is a wide range of what is considered normal, and every woman's vulva and labia fits into this range. But for now, let us move to the functions of the labia minora. Number one function of the labia minora is protection. There's a reason I used a diagram, first of all, that the labia minora is protruding. It's because this is open, and this is open because I wanted you to see the inner structures that lies beneath, because that is what it is protecting. So this is an open labia, but for most women, until you spread it open, it's usually close together like this. That's if you have a longer labia minora. If you have a shorter one, it is both closed and tucked in, while this one covers it up. So number one function of the labia minora is protection. It is protecting the vagina opening and the urethra opening, which are more sensitive and more delicate. Number two is sexual function. The labia minora contributes significantly to sexual pleasure because, like I mentioned, it has erectile tissue and rich supply of nerves, so it is very sensitive during sexual arousal and sexual activities. But three is urinary direction. Now, the labia minora helps to direct urine away from the vagina opening. So when it is enclosed like this and urine is coming out, it directs the urine away. Imagine if it's open like this and there is no labia minora here, urine would just all over the vulva, and we don't want urine entering into our vagina opening, right? So it helps to direct the flow of urine away from the vagina opening and into where it's supposed to be. Number four is lubrication. The labia minora, because it is made of mucous membrane, the labia minora contributes to the natural moisture of the vulva. Because remember I said the mucous membrane always stays naturally moist, and this further contributes to the moisture that we have in these areas. Most of the times the outer this is open, right? So this is the inner part that we're seeing. The outer part, because of the friction that it is exposed to, it might not be as moist as the inner part of it, because it is very exposed and there's so much friction going on there. It also affects the color. So there are most women that have two-tone labia minora. Remember I said that because of the rich blood supply, it is supposed to be always pink or always red, just like our lips. Yes, that is true. That's why the inner part of the labia is always like that. But for the outer surface, most times it can be darker due to friction, but that is also normal. So if you're a woman and you have a two-tone labia minora, just know that that is also normal. So that is all for the labia minora and the labia majora. One thing I want you to know about the labias in general is that number one primary function of the labia is to protect the urethra opening and the vagina opening, just the way our lips is here to protect our mouth. Let me give you a simple analogy. The labias are like two doors, an iron door and a wooden door that are outside your house just before getting into your main property. So the labia majora is more like the iron door. It is more rigid and it's more resistant to wears and tears because it has a protective layer of dead skin tissue, more resistant to friction, to bacteria, while the labia minora is like the wooden door. It is more delicate, less resistant to every other external factors. And then both of them are like doors that you put in your house to protect you and your properties. The same way these two labias are there to protect the delicate structures that lies beneath. So my ladies, we've come to the end of today's video. I hope this video was able to give you some clarity, answer some of the questions that you've had about your labia, and also give you a certain kind of conviction. And if you have any questions, concerns, or contribution, please do also leave them in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up, subscribe to be part of this beautiful family, and share this video with anyone you know would benefit from it. And that will be all for today's video, my ladies. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.